having me in your home, man.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, this is really nice, really nice.
Had to bring you into the vibe.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking at the art on the wall. So you got Thriller, OutKast.
Gotta have the inspiration, man.
Yeah.
Those are like, one, the artwork inspires me. That's some of the best artwork I've ever seen in my life, like Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, OutKast, Aquemini. And of course, you gotta have Mike laid out to the side, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's just classic, and it always inspires me whenever I sit down at the keys.
Absolutely.
You know
Yo, you play keys?
Yeah, been playing piano since I was like 8 years old. My dad put me onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just came home with a piano one day, literally just showed up at the crib with an upright piano. My mom was like, so I guess you're playing piano now. He was like, yeah, you know what I mean? I'm like a little boy, and I was into Power Rangers and crazy shit like that, but he used to sit me down in his lap and teach me scales. So that's kind of like when I first started learning the basics of like piano scales. I had no clue what I was really learning, but when I got to high school, that's when it all kind of came back because my high school had a studio in it, and lo and behold, those little scales started really paying off when I got into like trying to learn how to do music production and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of brought itself back in a really cool way. Wasn't expecting it to be like that, but everything happens for a reason, man.
For sure, man. For sure. So I read that you started out in church. Like
Yeah. So oddly enough, man, I actually started playing saxophone in church. I had keys in my life because, like I said, my dad was teaching me a little bit by little bit, but there was a saxophone player at my church. I can't remember his name, but he was cold, bro. Like every time I was at church, I'm like, what is this guy doing? And I asked my dad, and he actually introduced me to the saxophone player, and that's kind of what got me into playing sax. I played sax for about 4 years. I played it in high school, and it got annoying, man, because you got to carry around this gigantic ass case. Yeah. And I'm like in high school in Atlanta, and as soon as we get off the bus, we like trying to go hoop. You know what I mean? So like I'm like the corny nerdy kid with the fucking saxophone case, while my homie's trying to go hoop.
Right.
I'm like, let me run home right quick. Let me drop this off right fast, and then I'll be back. So that kind of like ended my saxophone career, and that's kind of why I got back to piano and music production more specifically.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
Cool. So what was it like growing up in Atlanta?
You know what? I'm so glad I grew up in Atlanta, man. Atlanta is a really unique place, but it's fast enough to get the hustle, but it's slow enough to keep like your sense of family, your sense of community. You get to play outside as a kid. You know, you got big backyards, front yards. We rode our bikes all over the neighborhood, and you have a real sense of community because it's very suburban outside of like downtown Atlanta, which now people live in downtown Atlanta, but when I was coming up, nobody really lived in like downtown Atlanta. So I grew up on the east side, which is Stone Mountain, Lithonia, off of Panola Road, east side. All my homies, they know what that's about. You know what I mean? But I grew up on the east side of Atlanta, off Panola Road, and it was cool, man. I'm glad I got that experience. I kind of grew up in a middle class environment where, you know, I got a taste of like some of the streets, you know what I mean? But it wasn't so raw to where like I'm out here trapping and doing all kind of crazy shit. But my homies were into that, so I got exposure to that. But my parents were so dope because they also exposed me to like the other side of the railroad tracks, where like, you know, putting me into different programs and really teaching me a lot about broadening my perspective on life. So I got like that real middle ground of like the streets, but also like proper living and like education and like seeing things in the bigger picture too. So that's kind of what you get growing up in Atlanta.
That's really good. That
cool
really
place,
prepares you.
It
for
does,
being in a
man.
place like LA. For
it
example.
does, and Atlanta's super black. So that was the thing I had to adjust to. Like growing up in elementary school, middle school, high school, it was just a black community like everywhere. You know what I mean? So as I started to travel, you start to realize that the world ain't really like that.
No.
So it was a cool introductory experience because I got to really be confident with my blackness, be confident with being a black male and understanding what that community and being able to relate to other brothers going through the same things that I'm going through, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't really grow up in like a detached environment. I grew up really close to like my culture. Right. So that's what you get in Atlanta too. Atlanta's like one of the hubs for like successful African Americans.
I was going to say that.
For sure.
Do you think that's a reason why?
You know what? I think it's just part of how things have evolved in the U.S. You know, obviously like the southern states were very led by like the Confederates and like slavery. If you go way back, really I tell people if you leave Atlanta and you go 2 hours any direction, you go back like 40, 50 years, dog.
Oh.
Yeah, like you'll still see Confederate flags. Like it's still like that very tension of like racism, and it's like an undertone, but you know it's there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think as an evolution of, you know, how, you know, blacks migrated to the other areas, Atlanta just kind of became very prominent. And I think the big boom of that was the music industry. Early 90s when LaFace Records came through. That's where you got OutKast, you got Usher, TLC, everything that they were doing. And that kind of like brought everybody to the city, so to speak. And then you had Freaknik. Freaknik was the shit, man. I don't know if y'all know about Freaknik. You never heard about Freaknik?
I recognize the name.
Oh, man. Freaknik was like the black mecca of like spring break parties, dog. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, like from like 92 to about 96 when the Olympics came to Atlanta, all the historical black colleges and universities from like all the South and really just all the colleges in general used to come to Atlanta. It used to shut the whole city down, dog. Like people be on the freeway twerking and like for real, strip clubs blew up. Like
Wow.
it was a cool vibe, but it got like wow, you know what I mean?
Can you imagine if Instagram was out back
Oh
then?
my God, dog! If Instagram was out, it'd be viral videos everywhere. It would be too much. It'd be too much. You know what I'm saying? Like Atlanta had a lot going on at that time, but it was a cool time to be in that city because that's when Atlanta was really developing. You know,
So it sounds like a real hub, especially around that time.
Absolutely.
And that was the same time you were coming up?
Yeah. So like the early '90s, you know, what I mean, I'm thankful I grew up in that era as well too because I got a taste of a lot of like just great icons, man. Like I think that's one thing that like us '80s babies, we were really fortunate to see like great individuals in culture, music, politics, whatever it may be. But specifically with Atlanta, I mean, you got to think in a 5-year span, you had TLC. Right after that, you had OutKast.
Yep.
Right after that, you had like Usher.
Yep.
You had So Def, Jermaine Dupri, Criss Cross, all that. This is all like within 6 years, and it's all coming from one city. You know what I'm saying? So it just kind of like blew up like that. And Atlanta to this day is still kind of running the music game from a hip hop culture perspective.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, when I started producing around early 2000s, like 99, 2000s, that's when trap really started to really come through.
Yeah.
And I remember being on, do you remember the Star Trek forums? The
Yeah.
Neptunes had,
Neptunes,
so they had online forum.
Yeah.
And that's where I started meeting people from America and stuff.
Tight.
And on there was a guy, and I remember him saying, everyone jump on this trap sound. That is going to be the predominant sound. I was like, nah, man, Neptunes, that's the thing. Like, Neptunes, Timberland, that's it.
Yeah.
And then lo and behold,
It is what it is, man.
15 years deep, like, it's been the prominent sound.
You know who really kicked that off, man?
Pop.
A lot of people overlooked the homie Lex Luger, man.
Yeah.
Lex Luger, he was like the one who really got the ball rolling with like, I'd say more specifically like the trap hi-hats and like the heavy weights and the snares and stuff like that. I don't know what he's up to now. You know what I mean? But much respect to him because I think a lot of people overlook his contribution to the trap game.
Absolutely. And how that crossed over as well.
It's in everything now.
I remember everybody looking for the sound pack.
Yeah,
Lex Luger sound pack. The riser sound.
For sure. That was his whole little movement, man. So
exactly.
I think he gets overlooked a lot, man. But shouts out to Lex Luger, man.
Yeah, for sure. Because I remember, the last I heard, he was working with like Britney Spears and stuff. That's when it was like crossing over. But then I didn't really hear much.
I'm sure he's doing his thing. I mean,
for sure,
his placement game was ridiculous for a good 5-year span. So hopefully he's evolved maybe into a different sound. And maybe just kind of doing it low key right now. But I'm not sure. You know what I mean?
He was pretty young as well.
Early 20s, I would assume when he kind of like peaked out.
That's right.
And everybody was really pretty much taking the sound.
Yeah.
Just robbed the sound.
Yeah, I mean that happened when Watch the Throne came out.
Yep.
So he did.
I think he had a couple joints in that. Yeah, he did. Ham.
Yeah, he did that.
Yep.
Yeah,
that was right behind Hit Boy.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's when he kind of like peaked around that time. For sure.
He did. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what he comes back out with.
I mean, hey.
Yeah.
Holla at me, man. Let's do some shit, you know what I mean?
Shout out Lex Luger. So going back to early 90s and OutKast specifically, I mean, what was your favorite part about working with like Big Boy and OutKast?
Man, you know what? My favorite part of working with OutKast was how difficult it was. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I look back, because I came in as an intern. You know what I mean? Well, let me give a little context to the story. So obviously I'm from Atlanta. I went to Georgia State. And at Georgia State, when I first got there, I was like, I got to find a way to get plugged into whatever the hell is going on in the city of Atlanta. Because again, I'm from the east side, so it's more suburban. You know what I'm saying? So I come to Georgia State, and I got a job at the radio station. I literally walked in one day and was like, are y'all hiring? And it was like, actually, we are. You know what I mean? So I interviewed, and I got a job as an office manager in like a week of starting at Georgia State. So very serendipitous because that same job led me to meet Tamiko Hope, who is like, I tell her all the time, she's like my music angel. Like, she opened up the door for me in so many different ways, but that's where I met her. She called up to the radio station one day and was like, hey, I'm trying to do an interview for one of my artists who is the Backwoods. Shout out to the homies, man. You know what I mean? Shout out to the Backwoods. But she was trying to organize an interview for them, and I made it happen. And Georgia State radio station is mainly like underground independent, so they really don't do mainstream radio. So I made it work, and she was like super grateful for it. So that's how I ended up working for OutKast, because she ended up being the publicist over there. So this is at the time where there was Janelle Monae, Killer Mike, Bubba Sparks. This is when they were doing Purple Ribbon, and I came in as a publicist assistant randomly.
So not even through your music.
They had no clue I did music, dog.
That's
I was
incredible.
just there to get in how I could fit in. You know what I'm saying? And luckily, like I said, Tamiko ended up there. So I came in as her assistant, but my eyes were like exploding every time I was walking in the door because I'm like in OutKast's like record label, you know what I mean? Like all the plaques all over the wall. So this is super overwhelming at this point, you know what I mean? Like being from Atlanta, I always compare it to as if I was at like the basement in New York, you know what I mean? Like working with Jay-Z, being from New York. It's like the same parallel.
Absolutely.
So I'm freaking out low key, but like I'm keeping my cool, you know what I'm saying? I'm just doing what I got to do, but I just had a really strong work ethic and I was very adamant about my details and making sure that everything that I did had a little air of distinction to it, you know what I'm saying? Like literally, one of my homies, his name was Tori. He used to tell me about like when we changed, we had to go like take out the trash, but like there's a certain way you could do it where they know that you did it. You know what I'm saying? So like there's just little things like that. But I just enjoyed how difficult
Making your
it
mark.
was. Making my mark. You know what I mean? But I enjoyed how difficult it was because it really built my character and it prepared me for everything else I had to go through in the music game.
That's incredible.
Yeah, man, it was a wild experience.
It just goes to show that it's all about relationships. And you don't necessarily know where one relationship is going to take you.
You have no clue, man. You have no clue. I had no clue that me answering the phone that one day by chance, because I could have been anywhere else, man. Like, I always look back and always realize that everything happens for a very specific reason. You might not see it. You might not realize it at the moment because you're in it, but you got to trust the process and trust that everything is happening to you for your greater good. It's not happening to hurt you. Even if it's tough or if it's difficult, you might not be able to. I was broke as fuck at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I had no clue what was going to happen, but something just told me that I needed to help this lady out, and then it ended up opening up a door that got me nominated for a Grammy. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, you never really know how that relationship is going to pan out to be to your benefit. You just got to do your best with everybody that you encounter. You know what I mean?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So how did that actually evolve into the musical creation?
Man, hustle.
Yeah.
Hustle. Just hustle. Like, every day, I would make sure, when I tell people whenever they're interning, man, like, you got to check your ego at the door. Like, you cannot be about you. It's got to be about blending in and about making your mark, but you can't be focused on your ego and feeling like, oh, I'm too good to do X, Y, and Z. You just got to do what the fuck you got to do. You know what I mean? So through like my work ethic and making sure that every time I came in, I was the first one there and I was the last one to leave every day, you know, or any day that I could. And at the time, I was still working at Best Buy. I had like a college job. I was still working at the radio station, and I'm interning, and I'm still in college. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still got homework and shit, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Like tests and stuff like that. So I just wanted to really make a point. Once I saw that I got in and I'm like, okay, I'm with OutKast, I'm not gonna let this, like, I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do, you know what I'm saying? So through my work ethic, my homie Rick, shout out to Rick, that's my brother, Rick Walk, he's actually Big Boy's first cousin. So he was like kind of peeping me out, like, yo, this little dude over here is working. So he pulled me to the side one day and he had an opportunity from Andre 3000 to cast his video for Ottawa Blues. This was right around the time they did Ottawa, the movie. I'm not sure if everybody remembers.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It was like a musical, but it was OutKast based. So Andre had a solo song on that particular soundtrack, and it was called Ottawa Blues, and he hit up Rick to cast it for him. So I became a casting director. I was like, all right, well, this is what we about to do. Fuck it. I'll put up a Facebook post, and we had a couple girls come through, a couple of homies, and we ended up casting like 6 or 7 people. And that was my first trip to LA. I caught a ticket, you know what I mean? They flew us all out here. We was at the Sony Picture Studio. And that was my first entrance to LA. So again, my eyes were like, boom. I'm like, what the hell? How did I end up here? Excuse me. So through that, me and Rick worked that out, and we landed that gig, linked up Andre 3000. That was my second time meeting or interacting with him. And then when we flew back to Atlanta, Rick went straight to the studio. I got my stuff, and I ended up going to the studio with him as well, too. And he was making a beat. He's a producer. So he's making a beat, and I just, like, casually jumped on the keys. And remember I told you, nobody knew I did music, dog. Yeah. So, like, they just know I'm just, like, this really, detail-oriented, structured, work ethic type of guy. And then I jump on the keys. He's like, man, what the fuck? He's like, bro, you play keys? I was like, yeah, man, I've been playing since I was like 8. He's like, what? And I do this all the time. And I don't really like to be braggadocious. Like, I got a lot of stuff that I've experienced in life. I don't really talk about it. I just like to work. I like to get shit done. You know what I'm saying? So, but I kind of like threw Rick for a loop. Cause like, bro, why you ain't tell me you play keys, man? I'm like, well, now you know. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I got into producing, because Rick took me under his wing. And he was already established with Big Boy at the studio. So we just started making tracks together. And we created a production company called The Flush. So that was like my first production entity in Atlanta. So that's how I kind of got into the music game, man. Again, through hustle, And again, not knowing how a relationship would angle me into manifesting my dreams and manifesting my goals in a way that I could not have foreseen. You know what I'm saying? But that's how I kind of got into the music game, and we just kept grinding from there, man. Like I started pretty much like living at the studio at that point. Like now I got my foot in, I got a toe in. Oh, bro, I'm about to knock this door all the way open. You know what I'm saying? So I was there as much as I possibly could be. Mind you, I'm still in school, still got 2 jobs, and still trying to have a life. You know what I mean? So I'm just grinding, bro. Just trying to get in where I fit in. And then lo and behold, there was one day that Big Boy came downstairs and heard this track that we were working with, and then the rest is kind of history. That's how he picked the first track that we got placed.
Look at that.
So yeah, that's how it all ended up happening, man.
Hard work, man. Hard
work and persistence, man.
Yeah.
You just can't give up, and you got to put your best foot forward every time you do anything.
And adding value wherever you are.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. That's something I definitely try to make sure that I always leave whatever situation I come into has to be better by the time I walk out the door. You know what I mean? Whatever I can contribute, whatever I can give, got to always uplift and elevate as opposed to extracting and taking things for yourself. So, I mean, you got to do what you got to do for yourself, but what can you contribute? That's what really, enhances your value. And make people be like, I want to work with this guy because he's going to bring something to the table.
Exactly. That's really good lessons in there, man. Like, people listening to this, stay persistent, keep up the hard work.
Keep grinding, man.
Keep contributing as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Big Boy's in the studio. How you feeling? Like, what's the creative process like for you at that point?
So at that point, man, I'm still very like, it's very similar to when Kanye was on that track where he's talking about how he was in the studio and he had like Beanie Siegel walking by and like all these different people from Rockefeller was walking through the studio. That's kind of how I felt being at Stankonia. Like I'm there and then, Big Boy walks by and then like Backbone walks by and then like Killer Mike walks by and then like Cujo Goody walks by and like, all these people I've been watching on TV coming up and listening to this music since I was in high school. These people are like walking around like they're just popping their head in and see what's going on. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So the cool thing about producing for OutKast is that they are a very multi-versatile type of group. They don't do one thing. Like, so we were in there. I made country tracks. I made rock tracks. I made reggae tracks. I made anything that we could think of. We just started like doing it, you know what I'm saying, and like just throwing paint on the wall to see what stuck, you know what I'm saying. So that's kind of the process in Stankonia. It's very much like cooking gumbo, you know what I mean. Like I got the rice, my homie got the sausage, he got the sauce, you know what I mean, and everybody just put it in the same pot, and whatever we come up with is a home cooked meal at the end of the day, you know what I mean. So that's kind of how OutKast worked, and that's kind of the vibe at that time. We were just really just doing what we could to get noticed, and then we got noticed.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
incredible, man. So what did it feel like to be nominated for a Grammy?
Another mind-blowing experience. Yeah, I was in college at Georgia State in art history class when I found out. Well,
you were still in college?
Well, yeah, I was still in college. I was in art history class when the song got released. And I'm like sitting in class and then boom, my phone starts like tripping. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And that's actually when I decided that I'm going to leave college. I was like, I got too much going on outside of here, and I'm putting so much time into school. And not to knock school for anybody, like it definitely opened me up to a lot of doors and relationships that I'm super thankful for. But I already knew what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? I already knew where I wanted to go, and I was very fortunate to realize that at a very early age. So I was already like, as soon as I felt it or I saw that little angle, that door open, I'm like, cool, that's where I'm going because I want to maximize on that as much as possible.
Sure.
So the record came out, and then it was on the radio for a little while, and then it just started blowing up. The internet was still popping, so it started infiltrating the internet. And then in February, after it got released, didn't really think much about it after it came out, other than us trying to promote the record and do what we can to get it out there. And then I was coming home from Bible study with my dad. My dad is a deacon in Atlanta. So very Bible Belt Southern Christian, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm coming home from Bible study, and my boy Rick calls me. I just walked in the house like, bro, what you doing? I'm like, man, I just got home from Bible study. He's like, man, nigga, what you doing? I was like, I just got home from Bible study. Like, what's cracking? Like, I'm like smiling. Like, what you talking about? Like, man, nigga, dog, like, we just got nominated for a motherfucking Grammy, and hung up the phone. I'm like, what? I'm like, hold on. I'm like, I'm literally like, I must be tripping. So like, I tried to call him back, he didn't answer the phone. So I like go on Google. I'm like, this can't be real. So I went and typed in. The song was called Royal Flush. So I went home and I typed it in on Google, and lo and behold, like LL Cool J had just announced the Grammy nominations for that year, and the song was on the list.
Wow.
So at that point, I was just like, I literally like fell on my knees, and like my dad was like, "What happened?" I'm like, "I just got nominated for a Grammy." And he was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah, man. Like, look, he's right here." You know what I'm saying? So I'm on cloud nine at that point. I jumped in my car, drove down to the studio real quick, and we all started popping bottles of Hennessy. Like, Big Boy was there, and we was all just like celebrating. You know what I'm saying? So, but that was like the precursor. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's when we found out. But everything that happened after that was just like a complete mind. It was just like going from 0 to like 1,000 super quick. You know what I mean? Like, we were producers in the studio doing our thing, and then the next day we got nominated for a Grammy. So now like everybody knows, and like, what do we do now? You know what I mean? Like, you work so hard to get to this point, and then it happens. What do you do when it actually happens?
Yes,
it's not
exactly.
like, it's not a joke no more. You know what I'm saying? So going back, I wish I would have been a little bit more prepared, but you can't prepare really for something like that. You kind of just got to like hope you catch the pass, you know what I'm saying? Like, and just make the touchdown, you know what I mean? So at that point, then we just really started trying to like get our network game on, and that's how I got to meet so many really cool people in the industry, was through OutKast and through that opportunity. So to this day, it still kind of feels surreal. And then I got to go to the Grammys, which is a whole nother mind-blowing situation, you know what I mean? Like, walking on the red carpet and seeing like Jennifer Lopez and like seeing like Puffy and like all these people that, you know, you idolize and you see on TV all the time when you go to the Grammys, but then you actually show up and it's a real life situation. It's not a joke. It's not
you're not looking at it through a screen.
Yeah, I'm watching it happen. You know what I mean? I remember pulling up in the SUV and jumping out on the red carpet and seeing all these cameras, and like I had my little shades on because I was shy as hell at the time. I didn't know what to do, but I had my like shades on, so I'm like looking around like, wow, this is crazy, man. Ryan Seacrest is right here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Introducing everybody as we walking in. We doing like interviews with Big Boy, and it's just like, wow, you know what I mean? It's a super proud moment. It was like, you know, when you was in like school and like you had like the award ceremony, it felt like that. It felt like you were amongst your peers, but you're being recognized for a contribution that you made to the game. So it was insane, man. I can't wait to go back. I feel like it was a preview, though. I feel like it was it was a reason why I went that early, to be exposed to it, to learn it. So the next time I go back, it'll be a whole different ball game. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Was that also your second time in LA, or did you come back before then?
That might have been like my third time at that point. Yeah, I was coming back and forth to LA pretty frequently, which is why I ended up moving here. My first time when I came out here with Dre, I mean, that's like the best way to come out here. You know what I mean? Like, you come out here with your favorite rapper of all time. It was beautiful out here. I'm like, where am I at right now?
Right?
Like, this is where I need to be. You know what I'm saying? So that was probably like my third or fourth time. But luckily, I was back and forth to LA pretty frequently because the guy who ended up managing us on the music side, Chris London, what up, Chris? He was managing us at the time. But I wanted to have a manager that was based in LA.
Right.
Because Atlanta is still a big, small city. You can only get so much done to a certain extent. There's a lot of opportunities, and you can do a whole lot there. But for me and my particular path, I knew I needed to be accessible to like LA and accessible to like New York.
Yeah.
To have a broader reach. You know what I mean? I didn't want to just be kicking it with all my homies in Atlanta and sharing my music with my homies. Like, they already know we do cool shit. You know what I mean? Like, I need people who don't know to know. You know what I'm saying? So I was in LA pretty frequently at that point.
Cool. That's really cool. I read that you and your production partner said that you were competing with Barry White and Quincy Jones in terms of like sound. In your mind, in the creative process, so that if Quincy hears the music, you know, he's like, oh, what's that?
Man, please, Quincy.
Yeah.
Boy, man. I'm right here in West Hollywood, dog. You know what I'm saying? Pull up on me. I'll pull up on you. Quincy is literally my definition of the quintessential producer.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people don't even know how much this guy has done and has contributed to the culture beyond just music. You know what I mean? Like, he literally discovered Oprah Winfrey, bro.
Yep.
Like, and that's just one of the things that he did, let alone Will Smith and Fresh Prince and working with Ray Charles. If you look through his whole entire history, he is the definition of what I would aspire to be. You know what I mean? He produced Thriller at 50 something, $45, $50. You know what I mean? And that was after.
And they wrote him off at that point.
What's that?
They wrote him off. They said,
it was like, he's just a jazz guy. Like,
you're a jazz guy. Why are you doing pop? You're a sellout.
Yeah, and Mike was like, nah, this guy is the truth. You know what I'm saying? And then they made the biggest record of all time. Yeah. Like, there's nothing bigger ever possible than Thriller. It's not ever gonna happen. You know what I mean? So that's why I think, you know what I mean, whenever I make something, whenever I'm creating something, especially on the musical side, I'm always trying to see if I can measure up to the greats. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's one thing that I learned with OutKast and learned being amongst great artists like them is that you got to shoot for the stars when it comes to like your craft. You know what I mean? Like, there's no point to try to be cool for the moment. Like, I want to be here for life. You
Exactly.
know what I mean? I want my shit and my contribution to be here when I'm gone, so my kids have something to be proud of, and even beyond that, so that the culture has something to embrace and something to elevate and something to use to inspire whoever else is going to come behind us. You know what I mean? You always got to pay it forward, but also do something that, you know, you could be proud of, and something that, again, that'll stand the test of time. So again, when I look at Quincy, look at the longevity of his career, everything that he's done, and how all his music is literally timeless. Like, there are babies who are just born now who know Michael Jackson songs off of Thriller, and I don't know how. Like, it's just like part of life, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a ubiquitous energy into the contribution of the culture that it's irreplaceable. You know what I mean? So in terms of aspirations, definitely. And for Barry White, a lot of people sleep on Barry White. He was a amazing orchestral arranger. A lot of people don't know that, but if you look on YouTube or just the internet in general, there are pieces that he has where he just arranged like string sections.
Really?
It's like an orchestra, yeah. A lot of people don't know that, man.
The talent back then was nuts.
They were, because they were all being steel sharpening steel. It was like Quincy Jones is teaching Ray Charles. Like, yeah, that shit's gonna be amazing. You know what I mean? Like, because they're both super serious about their craft, and I think that's something that has evolved into something different these days, where with the access to technology, things are just a lot quicker, and people aren't really as invested into taking the time to really develop and build a serious craft. You know what I mean? But these guys, again, Barry White, he didn't even know how to read music, but he was writing amazing orchestral, like 16-piece instrumental arrangements, you know what I mean? And that's all just off of ear. That's God level talent to me, you know what I mean? So it's like, those are the people that I always, whenever I go and I'm trying to find inspiration, of course I listen to everything that's out today. You got to know what's going on and also pull from that. But the core has got to be something that's real, you know what I mean? It's got to be something that's true. It can't be no fugazi bullshit. It's got to be something that you really love, something that you really attach yourself to, and something that you really aspire to create, you know what I mean? So that's why those two are usually like my quintessential sources of inspiration when it comes to like production or creating anything on like a musical landscape.
Absolutely. It's quite similar to how you even approached being an intern.
Yeah.
About leaving your mark and, you know, doing things a bit differently. And contributing. Yeah,
and being an intern, man, like, again, that's like the bottom of the bottom. But I used to study Puffy. I used to study Puffy a lot when I was in that phase, and he came in as an intern. So I'm like, all right, cool. And I understood why he did that, because I always want to learn from the bottom up. You know what I mean? Like, if I can make it as an intern and then evolve into a CEO, I know every fucking step of the process. You can't tell me as an intern that you can't do it, because I've done it. Exactly. Yeah, I've done it, and I see how it's done, and I've been there to go through those same hurdles, so I can also relate on any level. Which I come back now, and I appreciate that phase of my life, because now, again, I can hire an intern and know exactly what they're going through. I can hire a publicist and know exactly what that person is going through. I can work with a music producer and I can talk that language, because I literally have done every single step, you know what I mean, on the totem pole, so to speak. So a lot of people turn away from interns, man, but I say go for it if that's the way you get in. For sure. I appreciate the opportunity to learn as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, you do. You can just learn so much and add so much.
Yeah, and especially in an environment like that. It's like there's something to learn every second.
Exactly. And the relationships you can build as well.
Absolutely, man.
Definitely. Yep. So, moving to LA now, you was working with Adidas as a creative director.
Man, my life is so weird. It's so crazy, dog.
But it makes sense. It makes sense though, because what you've done so far, you've added value in so many different areas.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that you could do that. It seems like so far in your career, you've always had that parallel. Either in education, working a job, being an intern and stuff.
Multiple hustles, man.
Yeah, exactly. So you've kept that.
Yeah. And Adidas was a unique opportunity. I kind of stumbled upon it. I was living in New York, and I knew I wanted to move to LA. So I'm like, whatever I got to do to get to LA.
Right.
So I started looking for different opportunities, and I saw that there was an opening for a store manager role right over here on Melrose for Adidas. So I looked it up. I'm like, okay, Melrose sounds cool. You know what I mean? Like, being in Atlanta, you hear about all the Melrose TV shows.
Exactly.
It has this whole like glam kind of vibe to it. I'm like, that kind of fits with me. You know what I'm saying? So I started researching, got on my grind, got in contact with a couple recruiters, and ended up getting a gig. And the cool thing about working with Adidas at that time was that it was such a explosive moment for Adidas in general, right? When I got with the brand was when my first day was the first day of the Yeezy Turtle Dove 350. So
Oh, wow.
it was the beginning of the Yeezy
Movement.
you know what I mean? So it was like, that was literally my first day. And I remember we didn't even sell out of the shoes. And I say that's coincidental now because that same shoe goes for like $1,500 on resale. You know what I mean? But at the moment, that's how fluid things were at the time. You can kind of do whatever worked because they were learning and they were evolving in the process. So I come in and yeah, I got my whole background in business, but I also got this whole other skill set that they didn't really know about. You know what I mean? As far as like, I did work with OutKast. I do kind of know a lot of people in the industry. And I'm really well connected on that side. So I got to the store, did my job for a little while, started looking around and be like, you know what? I could turn this motherfucker up.
Right.
I'm like, I could do some cool shit. You know what I'm saying? And I had a really amazing staff. Shout out to my boy AK. Shout out to my whole team that was there. It was definitely a complete team effort. I definitely took the lead, but we did it all together. And again, shout out to AK. He's actually my business partner now in the production company that we have now. I'm sure we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But so I linked up with AK. And I remember my first day meeting him. He was like, "This the store manager?" He's like, "This motherfucker here?" I was like, "Yeah, bro." I was like, what you do? He's like, "Man," he started telling me his whole background. He's super connected in the music game and used to play, professional sports. And he was like a top 10 quarterback, probably higher than that. He'll definitely let me know if he was higher than that.
Yeah.
But he was a quarterback in high school, one of the top tier. So tons of connections that way. And then everybody at my store was just like really dialed in with the pulse of the LA culture, but nobody tapped into it. You know what I'm saying? So when I got there, I started hearing what all these people do, how everybody was real creative, how everybody had this underlying passion to just make an impact culturally. So I tapped into that, you know what I mean? And the results were like phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like we had, astronomical success. My first 3 years there, my first 2 years there, we won 2-3 awards for having like the highest increase over our target. For the first year, we beat our target by like $1.4 million.
Wow.
The next year, right after that, we beat our target by like $2.4 million. So we was going
because of the vibe.
It's because of the vibe, and then we were just bringing everything to the table. You know what I mean? Like I was bringing all my resources, all my connections. We started doing a bunch of different events at the store. We did the first event was a Super Shell event for Pharrell. It was a shoe that he came out with. And the brand was kind of sleeping on the shoe. But me and AK was like, yo, let's do an art event surrounded by the concept of the shoe, because the shoe had like different artists from all over the world painted some stuff on like the shell toe of like the superstar. So we went out to the community.
I've seen them.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that. So we went out to the community. I hit up my boy Chris, hit up AK, and then we just started tapping into everybody around here. We started walking down the street. We went to 7th Letter Gallery over here. We knocked on their door, got cool with them. They contributed some art pieces. Shout out to my boy Mizzle, Gavin. He actually came in and curated it for us. He brought some art pieces. We went down to another gallery on Melrose. They brought some art pieces. We hit up a couple more of our homies. We ended up having like 30 pieces of art that people just like, yo, just put my shit on. You know what I mean? Just put it out there. And it ended up blowing up. We killed our budget for that day. We did like $20,000 on like a $7,000 day. So the brand saw that. They was like, okay, so y'all know what y'all doing. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, we do. And I got like 10 more. You know what I mean? I sat down with my team and I look, this is what we're going to do. I need a list of 10 dope-ass home run events that nobody can say no to. So we already had that cooked up. We already had that going. So by the time we did the first one, we was already like, oh, so we got like 6 more already ready to go. You know what I mean? So we proved our worth with that one, and then we went back to the brand and got the reinvestment and kind of like the cosign from everything that we had done with that. And then that just opened up the door for us to do a bunch of stuff. And now we did almost like 6 or 7 different events and really brought the city into the store.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really contributed to the success. It wasn't just the events, it was a mixture of the events, the vibe, the people, the staff, and then our willingness to open our doors up to the culture and to the community. That's where brands make a lot of mistakes. They want to extract from the culture. They want to take a lot of shit from the culture. They want to get all of our jewels, all of our insight, all of our wisdom. They call it, I want to pick your brain.
Yeah.
That's like, exactly. I said that in quotation marks, pick your brain. That's like slang for just tell me everything you know so I can go back and do it on my own. Well, that's corporate slang for that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, And that's cool. It's part of the game. You know what I mean? But as long as what we're doing is going to also elevate the culture, we can barter on that. You know what I mean? I'll give you a couple of jewels, but as long as you open up some doors for the homies,
Yeah.
and we can do some cool stuff for the culture. That's a fair exchange in
Absolutely.
my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So I think that whole kind of like mixture is what contributed to the success at the store.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was an amazing time, man.
The thread I'm hearing from your whole story is contribution.
Absolutely, man. Like that's something my mom and my dad instilled in me. You know what I mean? Even go back to like my grandparents. I had amazing grandparents. I just got an amazing family in general.
Sounds it.
Yeah, they just very very centered. And my mom is an entrepreneur, so I got a lot of that inspiration from her. So yeah, just man, I always want to make sure that anything I step into, whether it's people, business, situations, no matter, I always try to enrich. Excuse me, and I always try to provide. You know what I mean? I always try to contribute. Got to make sure that you leave it. We should all be aiming to make the world a better place by the time we clock out. You know what I mean? Like something should be better. It's kind of whack to be here and nothing changes. You know what I'm saying? Like make some type of imprint. Let your fingerprint be left on the world in some place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, leave it better than when you found it.
Hopefully. I mean, hopefully that's what everybody wants to do.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know everybody doesn't, but hopefully in them somewhere at some point they evolve to a place where that becomes their inspiration is what can I do to make this world a better place for the people going, because the world's not going to stop. You know what I mean? The world's been here for billions of years. It probably will continue to be here for billions of years, hopefully.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? What are we doing to make sure that it's a better place for those who are coming behind us? Because if we all have kids, they're going to have to deal with it. So why not make it a little bit easier, a little bit better, or just a little bit more positive for them? You know what I mean? At least that. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So
Definitely. That's brilliant, man. Brilliant. So just some questions about production. You once said, as a producer, your job is to create the platform for the artist to elevate themselves.
Yeah.
You really got to be even more ahead of the curve than the artist a lot of the time. Tell me what that conversation is like with an artist when they come in. I mean, I've had to have that same conversation where it's almost like, firstly, you're meeting someone maybe for the first time, and then you're pitching them your idea of what they should do and what they should sound like. Obviously, and they're coming in with their own thoughts on what kind of sound they want. What's that been like for you?
I think for me, when it comes to like the production side of my creativity, because I've learned that my creativity is very it morphs. Like it goes, and sometimes it's expressed through business.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's expressed through creating ideas, and sometimes it's expressed through music. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to music, I think my goal in that conversation for me is really trying to learn the artist first, like learn who they are as a person. And I think the biggest thing as a producer is that you got to know what that artist is trying to say, and not just verbally, but what are they trying?
What's their message?
What's their message? You know what I mean? Like, what are they trying to say as an artist? What is their voice like? You know what I mean? And again, I'm not saying like literally. I mean more like figuratively. Like, what do you want to speak for as an artist? What do you stand for? And once you can really tap into that, I think it helps you to be able to articulate that expression musically a little bit more clear. So I like to spend a lot of time like getting to know people. Like we'll go kick it. We'll just talk for a while, and then I like to pick their brain and see like what they're listening to, where they're at right now. But where I try to always stay ahead of the curve, and that's what I learned from Ray Murray of Organized Noise. Shout out to Ray Murray, one of my biggest mentors when it comes to production. I literally have a video here, and I need to put this shit out because I was watching it with my homegirl Sinkay, who's another dope artist. But I got an interview that I did with Ray Murray about 6 or 7 years ago when I went to his crib, and he just started telling me everything he could tell me. I just asked him all these questions about how did they start OutKast? Like, what was y'all doing when y'all was just on the ground? Like when y'all was sleeping on the floor? Like, what was that like? And he would tell me like these amazing stories. But his main advice was never live in the present, never focus on the past, always be in the future, especially when it comes to music. Because if you're not in the future, by the time the music comes out, it'll be dated. Because, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but you don't just make a song. Well, today you probably could, but in terms of like execution and rollout, there's usually like a 6-month buffer between the day that you finish the song and the day that it actually comes out, especially when you're doing like major labels. It could be a year. 2 years. You know what I mean? Like when we did Royal Flush, dog, we recorded that song. It took 2 years for that song to come out. Literally from the day that we started it to the day that it actually made it out to the public. It's 2 years. But it still sounded fresh. And it still sounded like relevant because that's why you got to be in the future when it comes to a musician or a producer that's doing something creative. Especially like music because it moves and it flows so quickly. Like it evolves within 5 years. It's a completely different ball game. Like CDs don't even exist no more. I remember them shits came out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like them shits don't even exist no more. No. You know what I mean? So it's like things change so quickly. So I think the goal is try to have foresight to know where are things headed as opposed to where are things now. Like what are people kind of going to be into like next month? What are people going to be into in 6 months? You know what I mean? And to do that, you got to be very aware of what is current. You got to study. You got to be very aware of what the past, because a lot of things happens in cycles.
Yes.
Especially generationally, like from decade to decade. That's why now we're in the 90s.
Exactly.
Another 10 years, they're going to be in the 2000s.
100%.
They did that in the 80s. It was in the 60s or whatever it may be. Like it all happens in cycles. But you got to be aware enough to peep that. And then at the same time, you got to be aware enough to know that it's going to happen again. The cycle's going to flip over at some point in time, and you don't want to be on the opposite side of that. You want to be on where the curve is flipping towards. You know what I'm saying? So I think that conversation is more so like at least having that conversation with somebody. I think that's where it begins. Like, look, we don't want to make some shit that's cool right now. You know what I mean? Like, there's records that will be like that, but again, if you're trying to go Quincy level, you know what I mean? Exactly. Like, if you're trying to go Aquemini level, you're trying to go, Dark Side of the Moon level, then, Dark Side of the Moon was made in, the 70s?
70s? Yeah, I think 78.
Bro, I put that album on now and still be spaced out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is years later. Aquemini, same thing. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think that boils down to, again, what are you trying to make a mark as an artist? Do you want to be now? Do you want to be forever, or do you want to be last month? Like, some people are cool with doing shit that's just right now.
Yeah.
And you can't rob them of that. You know what I mean? I don't try to make anybody be something that they're not. If that's who you are, bro, that's cool. It might not work for me. You know what I mean? It might not speak to me personally, but that's you. You know what I mean? Everybody has the right to be who they are. And it's not my job to change anybody. I can enhance or contribute, but I'm not here to make you be me or make you think like me. I'll share. You know what I mean? I'll give you some of my insight, and we can have a dope conversation. But if you walk off and you want to go take a left, and I want to take a right, that's cool. Like, I'm still going to go right. You know what I mean? Like, that's up to you. We all have our own walks in life. So I think as a producer, you don't really want to change the artist. You don't really want to, like, take away from who they are. You just want to find their voice, find what their message is, and help elevate that and give them some futuristic insight. How can I help speed you up? How can I throw some curveballs and add some chord progressions that people might not be normally using right now?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how you get to that mission. You know what I mean?
Definitely. That's good. So talking about contribution, so your music's been sampled by J. Cole and James Blake. Yeah. What did that feel like?
Yo, that was wild, man. I remember just the Royal Flush experience as a whole was mind blowing. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who don't even know that J. Cole jumped on one of my records. Yeah, or that, like I got so much stuff, man. That I have so many experiences that it's hard to like talk about it all, because I start feeling like I'm talking about myself, and that gets weird for me.
Like you said, you're not braggadocious.
Yeah, I'm just not into that shit, man. I just like I'm always in the future. So what happened last month is kind of almost irrelevant to me at this point. Like, it's there and it happened, but I'm already on the next, you know what I mean? But I remember when J. Cole jumped on it, and I'm just like listening to his freestyle, and I'm just like, wow, this is unbelievable. Like, another one of my favorite artists.
Absolutely,
it's just crazy how that song found its way. You know what I mean? Like, we never did a proper video for it, which due to politics and label stuff that was a whole nother. We can have a whole conversation about that.
I know.
But that whole experience, getting caught up in the politics and not really being able to see the song do what I felt like it could potentially do,
especially coming from a brand and business visionary standpoint.
Yeah, I see the song and I see the possibilities.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that's very heartbreaking, man. Like, I can't even front. That was a traumatic experience. It was one of many traumatic experiences when it comes to like the music game. You know what I mean? But like, but it still found its way. You know what I mean? Like, J. Cole found it. I bump into people now like Cypher Sounds, my girl put me on too. I was telling him about the record. He was like, yo, that's like one of my favorite joints. You did that? I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah. He's like, no, like, for real. Like, you really did that? I was like, yeah, you can go check the credits if you need to, man. Like, it's there, dog. You know what I'm saying? So it's just incredible how, good music will find its way. It'll and one of the best examples of that today, I think, is Redbone by Childish Gambino. He never promoted that song a day, but it won a Grammy. And it's one of my favorite songs ever.
Absolutely.
I mean? So I think good music will find its way. And I think that's why you got to aim for that Quincy level, man. You got to put the best foot forward every single time. But and I remember when James Blake picked up one of the records, and it was like, it's just unbelievable, man. Like, it's because I never gave it to him. I don't know how he found it. You know what I mean? And then it was never really promoted, and it didn't really have a video. And I don't know how this is happening, man. It's just like, it just is what it is. You know what I mean? That's why you got to have faith and be grateful for the things that come your way.
Definitely. And I think it also goes to show how highly regarded OutKast are.
Absolutely, man. Bruh.
Yeah.
I think we're all still secretly waiting for an OutKast album, man.
Come on, I mean.
Yeah. I think we're all like, we all still have hope somewhere in our hearts that they'll do one more album, man. Because I feel like they are still the biggest hip hop group ever, in my opinion, obviously. But even statistically, like
I think they actually might be. Yeah,
I think they literally are the biggest hip hop.
The albums
group
went
of all time.
diamond. Like
nobody. There's only 5 hip hop artists in life, 5 or 6 that have ever done that, and only one hip hop group, which is OutKast.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that album was incredible. Oh my God, Love Below, Speaker Box, man.
Musically, it's
bruh.
just insane.
I've had conversations, with the people who are behind the scenes working on that project, and just how it all came together. It was like a perfect storm. It's something that you can't duplicate. It was like lightning in a bottle, where Dre was kind of off on his own, exploring through all these different sounds, and he recorded a lot of this stuff in secret. Like a lot of people didn't really know what he was working on. I don't want to give out too many of his personal, insight, but he was kind of protective from what I heard of what he was working on, because it was very experimental for him at the time. Again, you're talking about a rapper who's singing and playing guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
At the time, nobody was really doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, definitely
I still
not.
feel like the Love Below opened the door for the Kanyes, for all these, singing / rapping on that scale. Obviously, it had been done in other ways, but he took it in a very artistic slant, and that's where you got the love lockdowns and the 808s and heartbreaks.
Exactly.
All that
Which
stuff.
from there you got Drake.
Which you got Drake.
Yeah.
A lot of that was inspired by 3000, which to
Exactly.
this day, somebody is still trying to get a 3000 verse, and they would probably pay whatever they can to get a 3000 verse. You know what I'm saying? But at the time, I think he was very protective of what he was working on, and I relate to that a lot. I'm very protective of what I'm creating as well too.
Especially while you're creating.
Yeah.
Because you don't want too many influences. You want to just be in that space, and then here's what I created.
Yeah. Especially when you're in the future.
Yes.
You're making shit that ain't been done yet. Like, you don't need anybody peeping that, because people be robbing ideas out here, man. They be out here scamming on ideas, bro. All y'all who do that, y'all suck, man.
It's true.
I mean, y'all need get your own creativity, man.
Yeah.
Stop stealing other people's ideas. You know what I mean?
Have you had it that you've made a prediction on a trend or something like that? You created something that doesn't fit in with anything now, and you've got a few opinions back on it, and it's like, that's not going to work. And then 6 months later, a year later, they either hear it or they hear something similar.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, definitely musically. I think that happens more so for me recently in business and in like the events, and because with the event, like by the time the public hears about it, it's been planned for like a month and a half, 2 months, and you got to be really confident in the idea and the concept before it comes out to know that, or to think that it's going to work, even when other people don't. You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, that shows up very, very clearly in like, business ideas and business moves and events, and kind of creating on that side. Because you definitely got to be able to trust your gut, because you just never know. Some things work and some things don't. But you got to have enough faith to bet on yourself. That's been like my motto this year. I'm always going to bet on me. You know what I mean? Because like I know I can do it. And even if what some people would call fail, it's never a failure if I can get up and figure the shit out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like until I die, it's not a failure. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm always gonna keep it pushing. I'm always gonna keep it moving, and you gotta take everything in stride, man. So
absolutely, that's the way, man. That's the way. So we were speaking earlier, and you said that your new venture is a art curation space, or
it's a little bit of everything, man.
Yeah.
So the new venture is called CNC, Creative Noise Cartel, which is a creative production agency. And the reason why we decided to go with a creative production agency is because we wanted to be literally a creative production house. So whether that creativity, again, to me, creativity is not singular. It's very multifaceted. So that could be art curation. That could be events. That could be music. That could be business. And the bigger long-term goal where we want to end up as is, I see us growing into like a Warner Brothers. You know what I mean? Whereas like we produce, there's a Warner Brothers Records, there's a Warner Brothers Films, there's a Warner Brothers almost every division, and they make billions of dollars a year. I'm planning to make billions of dollars a year, bro. Like, people say that now, but let's see, give me about 5 years or so.
Yeah, you will.
That's the aspiration, you know what I mean? So I always think enormously huge. Like I don't ever aim for an easy target. I'm trying to aim for the hardest target to hit possible, and then sharpen my skills on that road. So right now we're going to be focused primarily on producing events. We actually got one coming up next week. I'll set the date just in case it comes out later, but it's May 6th. We're doing a listening event for RCA with one of the artists by the name of Safe. It's going to be downtown at the Reserve, so we're working on that now. And then we got a couple other projects. I'm going to not speak on those just yet because I believe in kind of protecting your ideas and protecting what you're working on. But we got some other stuff in the kitchen. Another thing that we're working on is developing that space with Retina. Don't want to go into too much detail with that either because it's still very brand new. Mm-hmm. But we just want to really be able to connect all the dots through creativity and community and do something that's accelerating the culture and something that you have creators that are contributing to the culture and not just like brands. You know what I mean? Like we want brands to come work with us. We want them to come work with us so they can do things in an authentic manner for the culture and for the community. You know what I mean? Because a lot of these brands have sales targets and they see money. When they look at our culture, we see the culture. And we can help monetize that for you, brands, as I'm speaking. We can help monetize that for you, but we're going to do it the right way. You know what I mean? We're not going to let you come in here and be a culture vulture to these people who this is a real life thing. You know what I mean? This isn't a money-making venture for these homies that are out here busting their ass for the last whatever years to develop their craft. So there's protecting the culture, there's accelerating the culture, and ultimately it's elevating the culture. That's what CNC is about, and that's what we're here to do, to make sure that, again, everything is done in an authentic and tasteful way. But also just do some dope shit that, you know what I mean, that has a certain edge to it, but it's also very authentic and very enriched behind that contribution factor. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
What are we contributing as a brand, and as a production company, as a production agency? So, and then lastly, we want to help represent other creators as well too. So, whether you're an artist, musician, singer, whatever it may be, graphic designer, videographer, if you are a creative, you can come to us and we'll help you find opportunities. We'll help you find a way to get to your point B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever name that might be. But we want to help guide, we want to help uplift, we want to help contribute to other creatives because I've been in their same shoes. I'm still a creative, you know what I mean? I'm still out here trying to get my dreams and my goals and my ideas out as well too. So let us help you, you know what I mean? Let us help you build, let us help you grow, let us help you get some opportunities, and we got your back. Ain't nobody gonna fuck with us because we ain't gonna let nobody fuck with you. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of what we do at CNC.
Love that. Yeah. Love that. And like you said, it's a fair exchange.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Where can people find you on that?
Well, we're still building all that. It's super brand new. You know what I mean? We'll be on all the social media platforms and all that. Again, I'm a very strategic, calculated guy. So by the time it's time to drop it and for it to really like launch, you'll definitely know about it. Right. You know what I mean? It'll definitely be all the way out there. But I want to make sure it's properly done and make sure it's tastefully done. Again, authenticity is at the core of what we do. So I'm not even going to misstep that for myself. I'm going to be authentic to what we're doing. So it needs its time, it needs its proper place and development. But again, when we get it there, the whole world gonna know. You know what I mean? We're gonna be running our mouths as much as possible. Right now, I just want to sow the seeds for it. I just want people to be aware of it and know that we on the way, and that we got some really cool stuff that we're cooking up. And by the time it's ready to go, I hope everybody's down to support and come out and enjoy some cool shit that we got cooking.
Dope. Sounds good, man.
It'll be out there, man.
Soon enough.
This year,
sure.
matter of fact, within the next 2 months, it'll be some really cool things shaking up. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm sure we hear of it.
It's on the way.
So just going back, if you could go back to your 16-year-old self in England, that would be when we're going from secondary school, high school, into college. Is that the same here? Or?
That's like high school.
High school.
Right there on the curse of like junior year for me.
Okay, so what age do you go from high school to college?
About 18,
okay.
17, 18, depending on your birthday. But it's usually around, I think it was around like 17 for me.
So so if you're 17, 18, if you could go back and speak to Jeron back then, what advice would you give?
You're gonna be good, man. You're gonna be good. Like don't trip, don't stress. Believe in yourself, and have confidence, ultimate confidence in everything that you do, and move quick. Don't think too much. Just get it done. You know what I mean? I think my old self was very in my brain. I was always thinking about how can I make it better, and that would paralyze me to a certain extent. Like I would be always thinking about it and not doing it. So I would go back and be like, bro, you're going to be fine. You're going to find your way. You're going to be doing things that you wouldn't believe that you're going to be able to do. But you got to stay true. You got to stay focused. You got to stay consistent. But you got to stay real, man. You got to just keep pushing. And don't ever give up. No matter what you think, dog, just don't give up. Don't quit, because there's something right after that. You know what I mean? That's what I would have to go back and tell myself, is just keep your hustle glasses on, man, and just stay focused. You know what I mean?
Love that.
I wish I could go back in time and talk to myself. Man. I'm like, man, I would be so dope right now.
That's incredible,
Yeah,
man.
I wish I could, man. Give me a little DeLorean, hop back in the future.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly, right? Crazy. So where can people find you online if they want to?
You know what? I'm on Instagram. I'm not really that big of a social media person, to be honest. I need to be, but I spend so much time doing shit that I don't really have time to talk about what I'm doing. But yeah, Jeron _Ward, JERON_WARD on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. I'm there. You know what I mean? You'll probably see me check in every once in a while, but just know I'm always working. You know what I mean? That's why I'm not really sharing a whole lot.
Sure.
Because I'm working a whole lot, you know what I mean, and those things go in opposite directions for me. That's something I gotta get more like fluid about, you know what I'm saying, like sharing more of what I'm working on. Because a lot of people want to know, want to keep up, and that's just what it is, you know what I'm saying. So, but yeah, check me out. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. I got some stuff on YouTube, you know what I mean. More stuff to come for sure.
Definitely, you should definitely release that interview that you was talking about.
You know, I am. I'm gonna put that out within. Now I have all this time since I'm not working at Adidas, and I let that go. I'm working pretty much exclusively for CNC. You know what I mean? I have time to really dive into that, which is why I made that decision. You know what I mean? Like, time is the biggest commodity, highest, most valuable resource that we have. Literally the only thing that you can never get back. So I need my time. You know what I mean? So I can share stuff like that. I mean, the jewels that Ray got on that interview, bro. I watched it with CK the other day. We was like, man, this is like God talking to us through Ray Murray. You know what I mean? Like, he's such a genius, man, and he's definitely overlooked to a certain extent, and sometimes organized noise as a whole is definitely undervalued or underrated, whatever you want to call it. But they're the truth to me, man. Like, they are the whole reason why Atlanta, from a hip hop perspective, is what it is. And if you don't know that, then you ain't really from Atlanta, and you don't really know what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So they are the core for sure. So, you know, I definitely want to make sure I do my part to contribute to their legacy as well too.
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely, dope.
Yeah.
So now you've been through the For the Creators experience.
Yeah, man,
who would you want to hear answer like similar kind of questions?
That is a really good question. I got a couple homies that I would really like to hear from. What comes to my mind first is my homie KP. It's a random pick. He's probably, if he hears this, he's gonna be like, man, why'd you say me? Just because I think KP has, his name is Kawan Prather. He actually works. He's, in my opinion, he's one of the core legends of Atlanta from a behind-the-scenes perspective. He was there to weave the thread through OutKast, TLC, Usher, anything that came out through Atlanta in that phase. KP was like right there with it. So I would love to hear his insight on his perspective of Atlanta at that time, because he was in it. I was a spectator at that time. He was a part of it. You know what I'm saying? So I think
like Guru with Jay-Z.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of character.
Kind of. Well, he wasn't necessarily on the music side. He was more so on like the business label, and I don't know what label he was working for at the time. He might have even had his own. But anytime you go back and look at a lot of these old, I don't want to say old because homie ain't like old. You know what I mean? Like, if you look at some of these vintage YouTube clips with like Goody Mob or like anybody, like KP is kind of like in the picture somewhere.
Right.
But I would be curious to see his perspective on his journey and a lot of the things that he's been through, because I've never really heard that from him before. You know what I mean? So I think he'd be a really interesting person to hear from. Somebody else like bigger, like icon level is Pharrell. I think Pharrell is always somebody that, he's such a calm spirit, you know what I mean? It's such a calm and kind of reserved. I think he's evolved to that place. I'm pretty sure he was a lot different, you know what I mean, when he was first doing the Neptunes. But I think he just holds a really cool place in the artistic contribution of our lives and the music that him and Chad, I never want to leave out Chad because people always act like it was just Pharrell.
I know, right?
Chad is the motherfucking GOAT. Genius. Like, yeah, man, people be sleeping on Chad, but he's a music behind all of it. Pharrell is definitely the visionary, the vocals and the melodies and the voice. But none of that happens without Chad, man. No. So shout out to Chad Hugo, bro. Yeah. Like, wherever you at, man, if you ever hear this, man, I appreciate you, dog.
Yeah,
like,
we
you did so
do.
Much. But I would say, you know what? Them two together. Like the Neptunes.
That would be my dream.
The Neptunes would be amazing.
That would be my
like,
dream.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall and just like a third of their studio sessions, dog. I wouldn't even say nothing. Just let me just be in the area. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
let me just soak up the game.
Well, funny enough, like around that time when they were producing Justin Timberlake's Justified album, like I said, I was on the Star Trek forums, and someone was selling DVDs of the studio footage.
DVDs, wow.
Yeah,
remember those?
yeah, exactly. And if you know about DVDs, you know, you could hold a lot of video footage in them. And I think I had like 8 to 12 hours of fly on the wall video footage, and I sat there and I watched every single bit of it.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Just because that's what you want to do when you're passionate about something. you know, especially Neptunes or anyone that you're really inspired by, it's really just looking into exactly how they did it, what keyboards they're using, what sounds they're using, how they went through the songwriting process. Like, yeah,
bro,
incredible.
I literally spend hours just watching studio footage.
Yeah.
Just like people in the studio. I try to find as much Quincy Jones stuff that I can find. I've watched almost every Neptune video you can think of that's on YouTube or whatever it may be. Genius has some really good like deconstructed beat making videos that they have.
Yeah.
Which is really
and Timbaland's doing a lot on Instagram lately.
Timbo, that's my top. It's my top 5, man. He's one of my top 5 producers for sure, man.
Of course.
Like, I will like Quincy, Timbo, Organized Noise. Who else would I put on there?
Neptunes.
Definitely Neptunes. That's 4. My 5th, I would throw a curveball. I say Just Blaze. Just Blaze is the truth. A lot of people sleep on. I don't even think people sleep on Just Blaze, but as far as a genius when it comes to like putting together beats and like sampling, dog, like, do you hear what he be doing?
It's crazy.
I'm like, how, bro? And he does it so quick. I don't know if you ever seen any of his videos.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
It's like crazy how he's just like boom, 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 and then voila.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, an honorable mention would be Knife Wonder. I spent some time in the studio with Knife Wonder, and he is a machine when it comes to making beats, dog. Like, I saw somebody actually brought him. This is when you know you like the truth, dog. Somebody brought him like a pack of vinyl to the studio one day, and it was just like, he's like, man, I can't even show you what this is, dog. Like, just like my top secret stash. Like, somebody literally hand delivered him some vinyls. We was at Stank-Oni one time, and he went through and just chopped up. I think I saw him do like 5 beats and maybe like 30 minutes, something like that. He was just like boop, 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 bop, bop, boom, bap, done. Next one, chopped it up, bop, bop, boom, bap. He's got his drums already mapped out, all that shit, boom, done. 5, just like boom, 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 just out of nowhere. I was like, wow. I was in there like, wow. And I got a chance to jump on one of the songs with him. So that was another. I got so many weird experiences, man. I was T-Pain's personal assistant for a summer.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's random, dog.
Adding value everywhere.
Yeah, I got to go all over the world with him. Went to Greece, went to India, all over the States. It was like a random opportunity that just kind of like fell in my lap out of nowhere.
What did you learn from T-Pain?
Team.
Oh, team.
He had a beastie team, dog. His team was very legit as far as like his management, his road manager. And that was my first time really seeing how it worked on a global scale. T-Pain is very much a global artist. A lot of people sleep on it. T-Pain, you ever hear this, dog? What's happening? But he's very much a global entity. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, he's popping here in the States, but we went to India and they knew all his songs, bro.
Yeah.
Like, word for word. And I don't even know what language. I'm pretty sure India has very different
they've got a few
dialects,
different,
they knew every word, like song word for word, and they're like going crazy dancing, and same thing in Greece. You know what I'm saying? So he's one of those people who can operate on a very global time frame. And that's another thing I learned is how to function on a global clock. When you flying, dog, we went from like, my first day I went from Atlanta to Vegas. My first time in Vegas was with T-Pain. Went to Vegas, then we went to LA, came back to Atlanta, then went to Vegas again, then we went to like LA, San Jose, Chicago, New York, Sacramento, and then somewhere else. Went back to Atlanta, stayed there for like a week, went to New York, and then went to Greece, and then went to India. This is in like a month. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So like after like a certain point of time, like time it becomes irrelevant. Like that's when you learn that the world is such a big place. It's like we're in our Eastern time zone, but when you leave here at 9 o'clock in the morning and you land and it's 9 o'clock in the morning all over again, that shit just doesn't make sense all the way. You know what I mean? Like you just sleep when you can sleep. It don't have to do it like the time. You just go to sleep and you just wake up. Like I remember we got there in Greece and it was like 2 in the afternoon and I was tired as hell. So like I went to sleep, but I woke up and it was like 6. I'm like, yo, what? I don't even comprehend like what real time it is at this point. Yeah. We left, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning in New York. So I have no idea what time it was, but I learned how global teams work, how everybody has to be really well connected, how communication works on that level with release dates and scheduling all these tours and getting all these people across the country together in the same place on the same flight at the same time.
It's a lot of moving parts.
It's not easy, man. Yeah. So shout out to Dex. He was his tour manager. I learned a lot from him real quick just by listening and by watching. So that's what I learned with T-Pain. It was a crazy experience. It was a lot of fun.
Wow.
It was crazy.
That's dope.
Had some amazing parties, dog.
I can imagine, yeah. Cool, man. Well, I don't want to take more of your time, but that was
appreciate you, bro.
really, really, really inspiring. I'm sure everyone's gonna get a lot from this.
I hope so, man. You know what I mean? Again, I just want to contribute, man.
That's it. That's
I'm
it.
out here
That's the
trying to
lesson.
contribute everything, every day, man.
That's the lesson. No, bless,
Yeah,
man.
bro. Appreciate you,
Nice
brother.
one. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Cheers.